Rawlsian liberalism was really designed to deal with a certain problem in the egalitarian viewpoint. Egalitarianism would claim that the most important social value is equality, and that we need to make sure we are all perfectly equal. Now, one of the points we made when we talked about utilitarianism was that because of leaky buckets, if we're all perfectly equal, it's very well possible we might all end up perfectly impoverished, right, with incentive effects and the like coming from a large system of redistribution. So what Rawlsian liberalism really attempted to do was think about how should we actually deal with this problem, because we certainly don't want equality at the expense of some sort of actual wealth. So Rawls was trying to lay out what exactly are we shooting for with redistribution, what is the true goal. So in order to do this and to come up with a principle of fairness that is really appropriate and applicable in this circumstance, Rawls introduced the concept of the veil of ignorance. The veil of ignorance suggests that if we really want to understand fairness, what we need to do is remove ourselves from the situation. Otherwise, we're really thinking about how we're going to benefit ourselves. So imagine now that you were removed from society. In fact, your soul was not yet born into a body. So this is true for everyone. So we have this meeting of the souls. We're trying to design what society is going to look like once we're all born. Now, none of us knows who we're going to be born as. Right? So that's the idea of the veil of ignorance, that we're all behind this veil. We don't really know who we're going to end up being. So we want to come up with principles for how we're going to run society under that veil of ignorance. And so when we're finally born, we can say, yes, in fact, we had created a fair society, and it's perfectly fair that things ended up the way they did. And now what Rawls suggests is that if we put ourselves behind this veil of ignorance, we'll end up with a relatively simple rule that will be able to guide us in terms of judging whether or not something is fair or unfair. Right? And that rule we could call the maximin principle. The maximin principle suggests that we should make the worst off as well off as possible. Right? So we would not want to have a society where everyone is perfectly equal and we're all starving to death. Rather, we want to have a society in which, sure, maybe there is some inequality, maybe that's necessary, but in which those that are relatively poor, and as poor relative to other people, still are doing better than in a society that was more equal. So put another way, inequality is perfectly tolerable as long as it results in helping the poor. On the other hand, Rawls would suggest we would not want to tolerate inequality unless it also helps the poor. Right, so introducing inequality just for the sake of inequality doesn't make any sense, but introducing inequality that also results in helping the poor is perfectly fine. So now if we want to compare, say, the utilitarian and egalitarian viewpoints with Rawls's liberalism, it would look something like this. We imagine three different worlds, World A, World B, and World C, that are all possible given a different set of policies that we put in place. Now here we have the outcomes for the rich and for the poor. World A is perfectly equal, both rich and poor getting $1,000 apiece. World B is somewhat more unequal, the rich getting $100,000 with the poor getting $10,000. World C is even more unequal, with the rich getting $1 million while the poor get $10,000. So each of these worlds is going to be ideal to a different set of viewpoints according to this outcome-based view of fairness. Right? So an egalitarian would say we want to have the most equal world possible. That would be World A. So are we all equally impoverished? Sure, but what matters most is equality, and we don't really worry about anything else. Right? A utilitarian would say we want the greatest total good to be done. That would make World C the best, because World C, we end up with the greatest level of total wealth. Now, Rawlsian liberalism would suggest we would want to go in between these two. We'd say, yes, it's okay to introduce some inequality as long as the poor are made better off. So World A is not good because the poor are very, very bad off. World B and World C are better than World A, according to Rawlsian liberalism. But once we establish some baseline for the poor, we want as much equality as possible. So we would not want World C over World B, because all that World C does is make things more unequal, as far as the Rawlsian liberals are concerned. So World B, which is somewhat equal, but also provides a baseline for the poor that is better than perfect equality. World B is what would be preferred by Rawlsian liberalism.